Welcome to the Tactical Dent Tech Podcast. You are now part of a small underground movement of dent technicians from all over the world. We are on a mission to change our industry with innovation, intelligence, and skill. But because we don't rely on an insurance company to steer customers our way, we need to do things different. We need to do things smarter. We do that through a network of technicians that we call the Tactical Tech Movement. Now let's get this revolution started. Hey, what's up, everybody? John Hiley with Angela Hiley here with the Tactical Dent Tech Podcast.
Yes.
What's up, everybody? How y'all doing today? And as you can see, we're on time. You guys woke up on Thursday morning and there was a podcast chilling.
What's up, bitches?
Ready, motherfucking waiting. So things are starting to slow down a little bit around here as far as the hail damage goes. So
yeah,
and which is. It was a relatively, I wouldn't call it a massive hailstorm, really. I mean, I know there were some guys from out of town, but a lot of them that I know left probably about a month ago. And the podcast we're going to talk about today is about collecting your motherfucking money because
yes,
I made a post the other day in the Tactical Dent Tech group on Facebook, and was basically the whole premise of the post was like fixing the dents is the easy part when it comes to this shit.
Yeah.
The hard part, especially for me, because I hate fucking being on the phone. I hate trying to juggle that relationship with the client versus I need my motherfucking money.
Maybe you just need to you need to be teaching me this shit, like pass the baton on.
Yeah, and of course she says this right at the end of the storm, right?
No, but I've been very observant during the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the big thing that so the feeling that comes up when you're trying to collect money from an insurance company, or you're at least trying to ensure that your fucking money's coming, and you're working with a client who you want to infuse this, I trust you, man,
Yeah.
with them two things kind of collide at the same, when you're having a hailstorm. And one of the things that I had to get past and I have to thoroughly understand is that a policy is a policy.
Yeah.
So if you put a policy in place, it doesn't matter how much you're going to trust somebody. You got a policy in place. You got to follow through with them policies. Mm-hmm. And I had a heating and air conditioning guy come in, I don't know, a few weeks ago. And we were kind of talking about the same thing because he doesn't do new construction because he says the people who are like the builders are really bad about paying their bills.
Yeah.
So he only does residential simply for one of the reasons why I like doing retail is because when you're done with the work, you get paid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's no better feeling than being done with the work and getting paid.
Hey, what's Big Worm say?
You better have my motherfucking money or my weed or I'm going to kill you and him.
I know. Doesn't he say something like, messing with my money is like messing with my emotions?
Playing with my money is like playing with my emotions, Smokey.
There we go.
So, that being said, there's other scenarios that come up as well. I'm going to tell you guys something that I learned a lesson on, and this was last week. So I had a guy come in who we had done his hail damage vehicle for him. And the hail damage vehicle that I did for him was quite worse than the second one, his grandson's car that he brought me. And it was about a $4,500, $5,000 hail job. It had not a ton of dents, but it had a bunch of big ones on it, And it's funny, his name was Walker. Guy's name was Walker. I'm like, man.
Wait a minute.
I'm like, is your middle name Texas and last name Ranger? But anyhow.
I remember that.
Yeah, right.
Like, oh
and
my God.
So he brings in his grandson's car, and he the whole shebang. They don't want to file a claim because they've got these other claims. Hopefully you guys didn't hear that. That was my cell phone going off. Somebody calling me, but I doubt that you did hear that. I don't think it went in through the podcast, but that's what the little delay there was. Jesus Christ, they're calling again. So anyhow, hopefully that doesn't happen again. But what was I going to tell you there? We had Walker come in, and I looked at his grandson's car, and it was the whole thing about, hey, I don't want to file a claim, and or his family or the grandkids' parents didn't want to file a claim, which would be his daughter. And so anyhow, I look at the car, it comes in. It's not bad. I mean, it's not bad at all. It is a Subaru, and I figured I could glue pull the roof and do the hood. And I just casually mentioned, I'm like, it's going to be about a couple thousand. And he's like, oh, I think we can do that. And we had I got a guy right around the corner that does paint work, so I set something up to do the paint repair on it as well. And that was going to cost him about an extra $400. Well, the day comes for them to pick it up, and he texts me. He goes, "It's still $1,400." And I'm sitting there thinking about it, and I'm like, I text him back and I say, "No, it's $2,400," thinking that he might have made a typo. Well, he texts me back and he says, "I thought it was $1,000 for the hail and $400 for the repair work."
Yeah.
And I sat there and thought about it for a second. And I was thinking probably the old John 10 years ago would be like, "Oh, well, I told you 2,000." But I sat there and really thought about it. And I'm like, I didn't provide him a written estimate.
Yeah.
I gave him a verbal estimate, and I said a couple thousand that could have easily been, all the guy heard was 1,000, right? And I sat there and thought about it. I was like, the $1,000 really doesn't mean as much to me as number one, a relationship. Number two, the second thing is it's my fault because I never put it in writing.
Yeah.
And being the business owner, that was my responsibility to do.
Yeah.
So, the more that I sat there and thought about it, I'm like, man, you know what? I'm just going to, that was my fault. That was my problem.
Just chalk it up.
And I thought about it. I'm like, maybe he did take advantage of me. I don't know. But if he did, he has to live with that.
Yes, he does.
I wouldn't have to live with taking, and I really don't think that he did, in all honesty. I don't think that he did. But I would have to, if I would seriously force him to pay me that $2,000, I would have to live with the thought that I didn't take care of shit on my end.
Yeah.
And basically screwed him over, even though I know I didn't screw him over. In his mind, I did because he heard 1,000.
Yeah.
So I just basically texted him back and said, I told him just that. I said, "Hey, man, that's my fault. I never put it in writing. I did say a couple thousand, but I'll do it. I'll be happy. I'm happy to take care of your grandson's car."
Yeah.
For that. It was already finished, by the way. It was already done.
Yeah.
For that $1,000. And
how long did it take you to repair
it? Less than 2 hours.
Well, you know what? That's a win-win situation.
And honestly, guys, it was about a $2,000 hail damage car. You know? But
ooh, baby, you getting fast.
Woo! Good Lord, have mercy on me. Well, it was that sweet spot. So all hail techs know there's a really good sweet spot. When it hits like 4,000 or 5,000, you're past this really good sweet spot that we can do things fast.
Yeah. And
we can make a lot of money.
Yeah.
The bad thing about the sweet spot is that a lot of people get that damage and they don't even know that it's there.
Oh.
So the sweet spot has like really good qualities, meaning that you make a lot of money fast.
Yeah.
The bad qualities are like old people and people that like can't see anything but color on their car. They don't see reflections. Yeah. They don't even fucking know they have hail. They come in one day and they're like, "I think I got a ding on my hood." And then you put a light on it and there's like, 10 dings on the hood, right?
Yeah.
And you say, "No, you got hail damage." And but he's like, "Well, I can only see that one." Them people don't see it, right? But when it gets to $4,000 or $5,000 worth of damage, they see like 20 of them amongst the hundreds, So that being said, it doesn't stir up enough business in the masses, But it is great to get a hail damage car that's right in that freaking sweet spot, and that's where that car was.
Yeah.
So next phase, we're talking about money. I had a guy come in here, and I'm still actually working on this deal right now. So he dropped off his car, and he just left me the check stub. Well, the check stub basically just said how much he got paid. We knew what the estimate was. Believe it or not, he got it written. He accidentally went to a body shop that I service. They wrote it, and they wrote it really good. It was a Mustang, didn't have a roof on it, convertible. And they wrote it really decent, and he got a check for it. And then with his deductible and all that stuff, it was like right around what I would charge for it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, dude, no supplement, nothing, we're good. Well, he comes in to pick it up, has a check with his bank's name on it. Was not on his pay stub. So, I would have thought that we would have seen on his pay stub that it was made out to his bank. Did not have that on there, right? So I'm like, well, we got to, figure it out. And so I turned to and he was leaving a truck anyway. So he was leaving another truck. So I'm like, well, that gives us some time to figure it out. I'm going to fix the dents on his truck.
Yeah.
But so I go to the Handy Dandy, and if you guys haven't used this, go to the Tactical Dent Tech group. I think it's one of the most helpful groups out there where people are not going to judge you and people are not going to talk a bunch of shit if you say something stupid.
Yeah.
It's an all around. Really, it started as the Wild Wild
West. There's never such thing as a stupid question.
Right. It started. The group started as the Wild Wild West, and it still is. But there's just a lot of helpful motherfuckers in there. There's a lot of good people in there.
Yeah.
And so that being said, I turned to the tactical group. I'm like, because I've never ran into this problem before. Usually, I'm filing a supplement, so the insurance company tells me that they've written a check to the bank, and I have them reissue a new check.
Yeah.
But here's the guy standing there, and he's got a check in hand with the bank on it. So a variety, I asked the Tactical Dent Tech group what happens. I got all the variety of answers. Some folks say that they've just put it in the night deposit, signed it, put it in night deposit, and they will actually cash it, okay? Other folks said exactly what his bank told him that we were going to be able to do, and was to write up an invoice, and he would be able to go into the bank and get the bank to stamp the check or cash the check. So that right there is the phase that we're at right now with the car. And I just texted him a little while ago. I haven't heard from him for a couple of days, so I'm assuming he handled it, because I did tell him if he did not handle it, then I'm going to have to contact your insurance company. I got a direction to pay here. We'll get the thing reissued. But I'm sitting here thinking, what? I want to figure out a way to go bypass that, right?
Yeah.
So already at phase 2 in the car's done. It's already been delivered. Now we're trying to figure out how to cash the check. He got a simple answer from his bank, and I went ahead and emailed him over the invoice. So we're going to see what happens. That being said, the one thing that a mistake again that I made, I probably should have just clarified that. Hey man, I should have asked him, who's all up on your check?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Did they do a dual party or something like that? But it just, honestly, the whole situation just never crossed my mind. That being said, something I'm thinking about doing, which I've done in the past, and I really should have done this in the future, is just organizing a checklist of things that need to happen before moving forward on a hail damaged car.
Yeah.
And honestly, the checklist should be really small. Hopefully I put something like that together, because when I put something like that together, I'm going to just give it to you guys.
I think honestly, that can happen to anybody, especially when you're busy and there's a lot of shit going on and you have multiple things running through your head. You're bound to slip up, and that's just being human.
Yeah, and the only thing to stop that is to have a checklist, so that's what I'm going to work on.
Hold on, sir. Let me get my checklist out here. Okay,
well,
we did
you don't really have to show it to the client.
Just
but
messing with you.
One of the things that could go on the checklist that could actually make you some money and get your ass out of trouble is doing a pre-damage inspection, okay? Basically, that scratch that was on there, and, was it on there before you repaired the car, after you repaired the car? There's so many times that I'll do a car and I didn't do the pre-damage inspection, and I'll be looking at a scratch going, was that there before?
Oh.
So I started getting paranoid. I start going around buffing out scratches.
Oh my God, John.
So, and ultimately, actually had a guy come in, and his wife had a scratch back there by their gas cap.
Yeah.
And them are the ones where it's classic. You miss the damn gas hole and you scratch the quarter panel a little bit.
Yeah.
Buffed it out, thing came out like new, and he mentioned that. He said, oh, dang, man, you got that scratch out by my gas cap, too.
Oh.
Little inefficiencies like that will go a long way.
Yes,
I
agree.
So that's level number 2. You want to get a direction of pay. And if any of you guys, again, I keep mentioning the Tactical Dent Tech group, but I have uploaded a direction of pay in that group. So if you go to Facebook and you scroll around on your computer, you find the files section, you'll be able to download that. You'll be able to download. We had a bunch of our members combine forces and put a bunch of different companies' matrices in there.
Yeah.
So we've got the availability to download that. And believe it or not, I actually purchased the rights to a few advertising courses, and I've got them in there as well. And one of them's a Facebook advertising course, and it is definitely kind of boring, but it's on point. So right there's the next level of collecting your money, is making sure you have that direction to pay, okay? The second thing is, if you have the third thing is, if you've got a business account, you should never have a problem with anybody signing a check over to you. And that also includes if they just sign a check that's made out directly to them. If they actually sign that to you, you should have no problem with your bank endorsing it on your own. Now, check your bank. Every bank that I've had has 100% with a business account been able to do this. Endorsing it on top of there signature or next to their signature, and you'll be able to cash that as well in your bank.
Yeah.
You know, but that's some of the things that you want to ask. So when you get on the phone with insurance companies, when you get on the phone with the clients, you want to clarify a lot of things about the payment. Who's the check made out to?
Mm-hmm.
Is it made directly to you? Or are you going to be cutting me a check direct? And I'm still a little sketched out about that, even though I've never had a check bounce on me, I'm still a little sketched, or at least from a customer or from a client. I'm still a little sketched out about taking people's personal checks.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
You know what it is? I think it's because, to be completely honest, I'm always like, is that thing going to fucking bounce?
Yeah, and the crazy thing is about checks, like a lot of times you won't know for a week if it bounces.
Yeah, 7 to 10 days. Because what they do is, like, the bank, they'll go to cash it, and then if it comes back saying that there's not enough funds, they wait for so many days, and then they do it again.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I know this was because of that one time when that one...
big-ass check a broker bounced on us?
Yes!
Yeah, that's the one time we did have a big-ass check bounce, and that was a broker. He still owes me that money. He actually called me and apologized, though. Still hasn't paid me my money, but he called me and apologized. I'm glad it makes him feel better. He I
don't know. I guess what it is like there's certain things that happen in your life, and they just stick there. You know,
that's a big one.
They stick right there. You know.
You know, and that's the thing. It's all about taking them things that happened in the past, not dwelling on them, not being like,
no, but
like,
there's always a
when I
lesson
hear
to be
that
learned.
shit, I'm not bothered by it at all. I knew that it was something that had to happen as a learning experience to make me better.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, ultimately at the time, of course, I was bothered about it. I mean, you're going to be a little bit emotional over what was like $12,000 or something like that.
What he still?
What do you owe? I think he owed me $15,000, but the check that bounced was like $12,000 or something like that.
No, it was only $5,000.
Oh, was it?
Yes.
Okay, so then he owed me the rest of that on top of that, and he never paid me.
Yeah.
But, you know, you're always going to remember that shit. And, you know, the funny thing is, like, I remember at the time that was a lot of money for us guys. I mean, we were just first year on the Hail Trail.
Yeah.
Really just starting into, you know, it was like third year in the paintless dent removal business. We quit all the routes, went onto the Hail Trail. It was a ton of money for us at the time, you know, especially the whole amount, the $15,000. And I remember us being really bitter about it for a while. And it seemed like all of our problems revolved around that individual. One day I woke up and I looked at her and I said, I don't want to ever hear you speak his name in my house again.
In my house?
That's right, woman.
I mean, our house.
I told her like that too, guys. Don't listen to her. Don't listen to her. And so, and we literally, we agreed. We looked at each other and said, no, it's enough negativity. Like, it was literally like the next 2 weeks, an opportunity opened up where I made more money than I'd ever made from that point on, you know? Or at that point, that was the most money I ever made.
That's why I'm always like, you know, people say all this shit, like on social media, or they'll even tell it to your face. And I'm like, dude, man, your motherfucking words they only mean so much. Let me see what your actions say.
Well, really, yeah. I mean, that's the key. And that's kind of what I told the dude when he called me and was talking about giving me my money back. Or no, he wouldn't talk about, I know, he was asking for forgiveness. And I'm like, dude, I forgave you a long, long time ago, man. It's, you know, I forgave you, but I don't like forget, but you could pay me my money back.
Yeah.
And because really, if the dude really, really cared that much, he would work to fix all his wrongs. Now, maybe it made him feel better. I don't know. It honestly, to me, it was just like, huh, okay.
Yeah. That's why I'm always like, man, your motherfucking actions speak louder than your words.
Oh, wait, he did tell me some checks were going to show up in my mailbox.
That's never happened.
So it'd be awesome if one day if he walks out there and sends me that check, I'm going to have it printed into like one of them giant checks.
Yeah.
And
did we ever say his name on the podcast? I can't ever remember. I'm not going to, but I think if he ever did, I would probably.
In all honesty, guys, the reason why we're not saying his name because he's not involved in our industry anymore.
No.
And the truth of the matter is,
some people know who he is.
Well,
though.
and on top of that, he has a son in the industry that I don't think's a bad guy.
Yeah.
And I know that he doesn't want his name associated with what his dad did. And of course,
I understand. I completely understand.
And it's not just me that he took out of money that year. He took some other people out of money that were very, very vocal about it as well.
Yeah.
And, that being said, today I know techniques that I could have used to get that money back.
Yeah.
And since we're talking about hail money, let's just talk about that technique. If you
Okay.
work in a body shop or you work for a broker through a body shop, get the customers' names, numbers of their vehicles. This might be a little bit on the shaky end, but if you really want to get so for instance, I'll give you an example. That body shop was paying him, and then he wasn't paying for me, but I was working in that body shop.
Mm-hmm.
To this day, that body shop, I'm still friends with the owner of the body shop, and I'm friends with his son. And so I still have a relationship with them, but they were paying this guy, and this guy, the broker, was not paying me, okay? And he stopped paying me after I left the storm. So it wasn't like I could walk up to him during the storm and say, hey, man, this guy ain't paying me. Now, of course, I called him. I talked to him. But in the grand scheme of things, they had so much shit going on. It's like my problem wasn't really going to be a huge deal. They're like, well, we paid him. So
Yeah.
Now, what would have been a huge deal for them if I would have started having an attorney or if I would have just downloaded some letters and written them to the customers that I worked on their vehicles that I was still owed that money on.
Yeah.
And sent direct letters to them letting them know that I was putting some sort of lien or hold or something like that. Now, it might have been bullshit. I guarantee you, an attorney could figure out a way to put together some bullshit that would scare a client and customer so bad they would be flooding that body shop with phone calls,
Yeah.
which then that body shop would have turned off the money they were paying to him, which would have put pressure on him to pay me.
Yeah.
So that right there would have been the one thing that I encourage folks to do when you're out there doing hail repair and you're working for other people is get them customers' names and numbers,
Yeah.
because you can apply some pressure in places
Yeah.
that will cause, let's just say it will get everybody's ears ringing
Yeah.
to make sure you're the motherfucker that gets paid.
I don't know what it is, but why is it? Because, some people, man, you could be friends with them for, a long time, and then all of a sudden you're, working with them or something going on. And I don't know why it is. It's, sometimes, money makes people really, weird and funny. You know that?
Well, you just said what Mike Toledo's favorite thing is to say. It's like money makes people funny.
It does. And you're just like,
Yeah.
who the fuck is this person? Oh,
Well,
wait a minute. You tell me you're this individual, but
Sure.
then your actions are, showing me something totally different.
You know the problem with it is really they're afraid. It's out of fear, scarcity. They're afraid if they don't become like a fucking hyena.
But that's not their motherfucking money to begin with, though. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? When people get like that it's out of fear. It's like there's not enough. I've got to take. You know what I mean? I've got to take so much more because there's not enough for all of us around. And it's a spirit of scarcity. It's a spirit of lack. And it's the same spirit that's going to fucking wreck them in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's also the same, and in all honesty, people have made a lot of money by being that way. But they've also, most of the time, 90% of the time, I've seen them wreck their shit. They
Yeah.
got so fucking greedy where they've caused it to where it collapsed their business. People stopped wanting to work for them or work around them,
Yeah.
And I'll give you an example of the exact opposite. And honestly, I don't know because I've never worked with him, but I will tell you, anybody who's ever worked with the guy basically says that he's the right type of person to work for, and that's Kurt Stanton, Captain Kurt. And he would be an example of an individual who, he's been doing this for a long, long time. Kurt was, from a lot of people, been told he's the very first hail chaser.
Yeah.
The first guy that you ever seen show up at a storm
Mm-hmm.
and put together a gig. And he owns a company called the Hail Team. And like I said, I've never worked with Kurt, but what I've heard about Kurt is that he's a really legitimate and good guy.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? He's a living, breathing, walking example of, yes, I can be very fucking successful, and I can do it while treating people right,
Yeah.
creating great relationships, and still being a good person.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, take that for what it's worth. Because if you do it the other way, I don't give a fuck I don't give a fuck. You are living a shitty life. And you're going to feel it every night, every moment when you wake up, every fucking day. If you got these thoughts, if you're living that life now, if you're listening to this podcast, I doubt that you're like that. But if you're feeling that right now, like every day you feel like it's a struggle, every day you feel like you got to fight against nature just to get paid, you got to fucking claw, scratch, do whatever it is to get your shit, you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong, and you're doing it in a way that exact same spirit is going to be what fucking kills you, because there's going to be somebody that claws their ass right fucking past you, scratches their way right past you because you're not doing it right. And if that's all it takes to get past you is to claw, scratch, screech, fucking be shitty, you'll find somebody that's going to be able to do it better than you. Because the other way, you ain't going to be able to, because the people that are doing it the right way, they're not in competition with each other. You see what I'm saying? They're not in competition with each other. All right? So either be a fucking hyena or a lion.
Oh, I can't fucking stand hyenas. Oh my God.
That's the base of what it is. They're just
I know.
They're graveling for shit that other people that other people don't want.
But isn't like hyenas, they're not very good by themselves. They're better in like groups or what. Oh, that's like one of the animals that I cannot. I do not.
And
like
I'll guarantee. And here's the next thing. I'll guarantee you that anybody who flocks to them type of people have that exact same spirit in their heart. They're working with that same spirit.
That's sad.
Yeah.
That's sad.
It is sad. It's a sad existence. But you know what? If you're here, if somebody's out there and living that existence, any moment they can change it.
That's true.
Any moment they can change it.
They just gotta get their head right.
Yeah, I just hope that, I believe this is maybe my small way, my small contribution in helping the world realize that. I think, and sometimes I think, actually, a lot of times, like, who would willingly put themselves through a shitty life, right? I think it's just they feel that that's the only way. And people need to be educated that, no, it doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something. The moment you make that shift, if you're living that life currently, the moment you make that shift, there's going to be some shit that happens to test you.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Some bad stuff's going to happen. Somebody's going to take advantage of you. The key is what are you going to do about it? Are you going to turn? Are you going to let people drop you down to their level? Or are you going to rise higher?
Mm-hmm.
It's just like the eagle. Talk about the eagle will have buzzards just squawk around him,
Yeah.
And the buzzards will start squawking around that eagle and just trying to get that eagle to come down to their level. And the eagle will just spread its 6-foot wingspan and it'll rise to elevations where them fucking buzzards can't even live.
Mm-hmm.
They can't even breathe up there, man. He's at such a higher level than all of them that they can't even fucking exist at that level.
Yeah.
That's where people who do it right fly.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? There's been eagles spotted by fucking full-blown jet planes flying beside them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Be a fucking eagle. Don't be a buzzard. That's all I got to say. And, that's the key thing that I talk about this, like, here's the one thing I wish people would, that sometimes, man, I will fire people that I'm doing business with. I will literally say to them, no, I will not. And actually, there's people that are on a list that I won't do business with.
Yeah.
I'll say, no, I'm cool with you. Yeah. I'll talk with you. We can be friends, but I don't want your money.
Yeah.
I will not take a dime from you, or I will not work for you.
Yeah.
And it's all about their energy. If I see that,
that wouldn't be a friend. That'd be more of an acquaintance.
Well, I'm telling you, even if you have people that are buying shit from you, if you got a bunch of buzzards buying shit from you,
yeah,
you know what I mean? It's gonna be hard to be a fucking eagle if you're serving a bunch of buzzards. You know what I mean? That's the truth. And I try to think of it like this, because the first thing I'll do is when I realize they're starting to be a fucking buzzard, I will shoot a cannonball across their bow and let them know, because I truly believe you teach people how to treat you.
That's true.
I'll give them another opportunity to be all right, be fucking cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that next fucking shot, the cannonball is going to be right in the side of their fucking boat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because the second one, and I'm very, very frank. I tell people, I'm like, hey, I just want to let you know that I have no problem with parting ways. And that's the way that it is. That's here in, I don't give a fuck if it's in the dent removal business. I don't give a fuck what it is. I'm not going to deal with people that have certain energy levels that are there to either be time vampires or bring people down. You know?
Now, what is a time vampire?
Okay, everybody knows what a time vampire is. Everybody's had like a car dealership or somebody in your life that's tried to suck the living blood out of everything you do and not pay for it. So a time vampire is a person, a customer that you don't want. They're not a client. They're a customer that you don't want. They're somebody who wants everything for nothing. And the moment that you try to charge them or bill them for it, the whole world's about ready to come to an end for them. That's a fucking time vampire because they will suck the life out of you. And the only thing we have on this earth is time.
Yes.
Right? And they will suck the life out of you for everything that you have. Stay away from them motherfuckers. Give them to your competition. Right?
Yeah.
Because they'll find somebody to do it. Give them to them.
Yes.
You don't want them, man.
I agree.
So, and that's just, and it's likely if you have, like me, really good friends around here. I don't even consider people around me competition, man. If you got really good friends in your local area that do what you do, they don't want them either. I can't think of anybody around here that I know that wants these type of people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm sure they'll find somebody, but it is not going to be
They'll find
anybody very
somebody.
fucking good, you know? So anyhow, y'all.
No, we're not leaving the podcast yet.
Okay. So what you got to say?
No, I was talking to you earlier. So like the other day, John and I are working out in Planet Fitness, and I was watching ESPN, and they were talking about Tim Duncan, how he's now the assistant coach for the Spurs, and I was like reading about him, and I thought like, you know what, this is so fucking awesome. Like that dude played for the same team for 19 years for his entire career.
Undisputable, Zan.
I'm sure Zan probably likes Tim Duncan.
Yeah.
And I was just like, you know what? That's just so fucking awesome. And then I read some other things, and I'm like, man, that's a good dude right there.
Yeah. I want to call him Tim B. Duncan.
No, so his middle name is Theodore. So that's Odin's middle name now. It's going to be Odin Theodore Hiley. Yeah. But no, I just thought, like, I don't know. That made me feel really good inside because I was just like, man, that's a good dude right there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Plus, he's working with what? Is it Greg Popovich?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the legendary coach right there,
Yeah,
y'all.
I don't know. That made my heart feel like super duper warm. And then don't you remember I even asked you, I was just like, so out of all the sports, you know, who do you think is like fit wise, like staying in shape? Like, who do you think would be like not the greatest in shape?
Oh, not the greatest in shape? The guy who's not out of like
out of, you know, we got like the NBA, we got the NFL, you got baseball, you got hockey, you got tennis. I mean,
you know, I can't think of a fat basketball player. I mean,
no,
you know,
like those dudes are in like,
yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's some bigger, like, you know, football players.
like normally when they, like with basketball, like normally once they retire, they gain some weight.
Yeah.
Because they, you know, they're like, oh, you know, I don't have to do that. Like, if you look at like Kendrick Perkins, so like that dude is like, okay, so like when he played for the Cavs,
he's the one guy who I was thinking might be a little bit out of shape compared to the rest of them.
Well, he doesn't play basketball anymore. And then when I seen him on, I think it was ESPN or something like that, I was like, man, that dude gained some weight. But like, don't you remember during the playoffs when they played the Celtics?
Yeah.
Like that dude went out there and they knew it, you know, like even LeBron, like when they're like, we're going to send Perkins out here and he's going to like do some dirty shit.
Some dude was trying to hurt LeBron. I remember that. And the team probably got together and was like, yo, Perkins, get up there and check that motherfucker. He's the dude who you send out to like bust somebody's ass, because even if they kick him out, you know, you're like, okay, well, yeah, he's good. He's just kind of like an older dude who was retiring and all that stuff. But he was a mean motherfucker.
Exactly. Yeah.
So anyhow, y'all, we're going to jump off this podcast now because I got to go. like my motto: get paid and get laid.
Get paid and get laid.
Kenny Powers, motherfucker.
Oh my God, what a douchebag.
Kenny motherfucking Powers.
Oh God, that is such a douchebag.
That just reminded me of him, though. That's a hilarious show.
It is.
Eastbound and Down, you guys.
But that is like so douchebag status right there.
Yeah.
That's like not.
Well,
That's like
see,
what not.
well-
Like, hey, watch it. That's like what not to be.
Well, what was funny about him is that he was listening to his own motivational books.
Oh my God. John started like saying something and it went off and I'm like, oh my God, I know somebody actually know quite a bit of people in the industry that would like fit that status. And I'm like, oh God, that's just horrible. Douchebag 101.
Over there in the whole underground swinger movement.
Oh, I don't even want to go there. That's just makes me want to like throw up.
All right, everybody. And honestly, I don't really know if that's happening, but let's just say there's a few rumors floating around.
Oh, there's a lot of shit. I was just like, what the fuck? I mean, like, I would hear, like, people would
like,
tell
are
me,
you going to Vegas? We're like, no.
No. Like, people would tell me stuff, and I'm like, no. I'm like, are you for real? I was like, no. I'm like, man, I must be like naive or something of that nature.
I try not to hear that shit anymore.
Oh,
I was
like, no, thank you.
If somebody
No,
calls
thank you.
me just to gossip, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear the shit.
No. But I don't know. I'm just like, what the fuck? Okie dokie.
Everybody's just like, come on, please tell us. All right, everybody. We appreciate you.
No.
We're going to holler at you on that next one.
And remember, it's all about the motherfucking hustle.
Pew, pew.
Bang, bang.
Blip, blip.
Blop, blop.